Keith Alexander's walk was pretty wild and woolly for a long time. That's really an understatement. He'd been using drugs since 1978. That's the year I came to know the Lord. His cocaine habit reached $300 to $600 a day. I said it before. I read this story and was despairing before I got halfway through. But here is the man today. You're not going to believe what God has done. Keith, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and asking me to share my testimony.
This is great. I think we need to download a couple of things. You've got to expect a rough start for a life that got as self-destructive as yours became. Your mom died when you were 9. Your dad was an alcoholic. You ended up in a foster home.
Yes. You know, at the very beginning, everything was very, very nice, and it seemed very normal, and then it changed. And, you know, I didn't know until later on that the things that I experienced in the foster home were not normal either.
You were being abused.
I was being spanked on a daily basis for whatever reason, and so I understand it to be abuse now. Yeah.
God's love was reaching even in that chapter. Somebody took you to a Bible study.
Exactly. That's what happened, and I came to know the Lord. I wanted to be saved, and because I understood that that was the only way to get to heaven, and so I got saved. But you know, being
now, when you say you got saved, you gave your heart to Jesus.
I gave my life to Christ.
And you understood what that meant.
I understood what that meant. I actually walked around with a Bible. I was about 10, 11 years old in this particular foster home, and walking around with a Bible. And looking back now, I guess it wasn't the thing. It wasn't normal in that particular setting, and so she sent me to summer camp, and the Bible, the Bible disappeared. So
what do you mean?
She sent me to summer camp, and
it wasn't a Bible camp.
It wasn't a Bible camp.
Okay.
Right, and so I became, you know.
You strayed.
I did, of course. Yeah.
Now that straying started to get serious, as it often does. 1978, marijuana became a daily thing?
It became a daily thing. I thought I had arrived when I smoked my first joint, and I vowed to myself that I was going to do it all the time. And, you know, it didn't.
2 years later, it was cocaine.
2 years later, I mean, I experimented with a lot of different drugs, and about 2 years later after that, I was, found myself getting ready to get into the Navy. And I did acid and some, a little bit of alcohol and little uppers and things like that. And I had also tested cocaine, tried cocaine for the very first time. And that very first time, it kind of grabbed me, but I ignored the grab and tried to continue life without using it. And it wasn't a constant thing, but it certainly made its mark in my brain.
Now, there was some positive here, too, because in the Navy, you began a career as a hairdresser.
No.
No?
No, no. That was after the Navy.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, after the Navy, yeah.
You weren't doing hair on board?
I was not, no.
Oh, okay.
No. After the Navy, I moved to New York, and then after New York, I eventually got to Miami. And became a hairdresser. I can
tell you're skipping lots of chapters.
And, yes, and became a hairdresser. And here in Toronto is where my drug addiction really took off. I was a Yorkville hairdresser, and
a very successful one.
It was becoming very successful, and
you had enough money for the cocaine habit.
I did, and my. I got a phone call one day that my father had died, and within that same month, my best friend that I met in the Navy had died, and I wasn't able to emotionally prepared or mature enough to handle it, and became very self-centered, and
let's face it, relationships had been compromised from the get-go in your life.
Right.
And so when you lose those who are potentially that refuge or that familiar place.
Right. Yeah.
You're bereft.
was pretty painful, and I had remembered the comfort and ease that came with cocaine, and I turned to cocaine. There was a warning that things were going to get bad if I turned to it, but I ignored those warnings.
I saw a film on cocaine, and it said it's really the worst drug to be addicted to because it's always a good high. Heroin isn't always a good high.
Right.
But cocaine, and you said it was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. It was, at first it was fun, and then it became necessary. And then there were moments that were fun. But I mean, those aren't real moments. Those aren't fun moments that are planted in reality. That's all drug-induced craziness.
It's impossible in a few minutes to take the yo-yo journey into and out of 13, at least 13 rehab programs.
Yeah, I kept trying, and you know, at first I thought treatment was going to solve my problem. I thought that they were going to teach me how to live sober. And then it became a means for me to just build my life again. Because coming from nothing, I needed to take some steps in order to get somewhere, and I needed some time to dry out.
Can I interject here, Keith, that you, 8.5 months, you prayed to the God of your understanding, a higher power. And during that time, you were arrested 7 times.
Okay, no.
Did I get something wrong there?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so before my last relapse, I had stayed sober for 8.5 months. I'd gone through the 12 steps of recovery and was given the opportunity to build a relationship with a power greater than myself of my own understanding. And during that time, I prayed for 8.5 months to a God of my own understanding, and eventually relapsed. I succumbed to the disease again. And I found myself on the street for about 6 months, where I was arrested for at least 7 times.
Take us to the come to Jesus moment.
Right.
And I say that because it's an abused term.
Right.
You had a real
So I
Jesus.
had a moment of clarity, which led me to detox, then to a transition program, the Good Shepherd, and
November 4th, 2010.
That was November 4th, 2010, and I had to face a warrant. While I faced this warrant and went to jail, while in my jail cell, spending my time in jail, I realized that if my sobriety is contingent upon my relationship with God, and I prayed day and night during this 8.5 months that I was sober, that I wasn't praying to a real God. So I needed to surrender my life to a real God. And so I chose the God that I'd always denied, and chose the God that I walked away from, the one who sent his son for my salvation, who died on Calvary.
The one you trusted in as a young boy.
The one who I trusted in as a young boy.
Never let you go.
Yeah, and you know, there was so much of me that I had built and carried from that little boy up until this moment that didn't fit on the narrow path. And so I needed to shed myself of all those things so that I could fit on the narrow path. So I did in that jail cell.
Let me tell folks, people are going to want to spend time to unpack all that God has done, but I want to bring them to who you are today. This scripture came to my heart, Psalm 50, verse 15. Yes. Call on me. This is God speaking. Call on me in a day of trouble. I will rescue you, and you will honor me. Today you are a trustee of the church that Brian Warren was ordained in.
Yeah, Grant African Methodist Episcopal, 2029 Girard Street East.
You volunteer at Good Shepherd, which is a transitional house.
Yes, I volunteer at the DARE program at Good Shepherd.
You cut hair for the guys.
I do.
Still using that gift.
Yes.
You're part of the praise team, part of the music ministry in your church.
Yes.
And tell everyone what you started last month.
Oh, I started Tyndale University, getting my Bachelor's of Religious Education. You know, thank God. That's a miracle to me because I never, last time I was in school was 1979, and I had even dropped out mentally before 1979. So for me to seek out education, I never thought that this would happen to me. I never thought that I would be living the life that I live today. I never thought that I would be feeling the way that I feel today. I mean, I've been delivered from so many things, you know, a lifetime of bondage and sexual immorality, and it's, you know, I'm totally free today.
You got a tattoo on your neck. What does it stand for?
Fear not except God. It's Jinyami. It's an African symbol.
Pray for this probably future pastor, will you?
Yeah.
And when next time you see someone on the street, you pray for them because Jesus is big enough. Bless you and bless you today.